After an earthquake, I asked to stay at my parents' with my 5-year-old daughter, they said, without the child. We don't have space for her. She burst into tears. I didn't cry. I just said, noted. 3 days later, they were regretting everything. There was an earthquake. Not the movie kind with skyscrapers falling, just a violent jolt that made the walls shudder and my cupboards scream, the sound of plates dying. When it stopped, my daughter Ruby, 5 years old and small for her age, stood in the doorway clutching her stuffed fox like it might bite the shaking away. "Mommy," she whispered. "It's okay." I lied. By morning, a city inspector in a hard hat used the word unlivable. He slapped a red sticker on my door and walked off like he'd just said good luck. I looked at Ruby's small hand in mine and thought, there's no plan B. So I called my parents. Mom answered on the second ring. "Of course, honey. You can come," she said. Warm. Quick. Like it cost her nothing. I could have cried with relief. Back then, I didn't ask what she meant. Didn't double-check that "you can come" included my 5-year-old daughter. Didn't think I needed to. I mean, who calls their mother to confirm they're allowed to bring their daughter? My parents lived 5 hours away, in the same house where I grew up. With them was my older sister, Brittany, her boyfriend Shane, and Brittany's 3 kids from her first marriage. It was a full house, sure, but they had spare rooms, and they were family. Ruby and I packed fast. Clothes, toothbrushes, the fox, 1 bag of snacks. While I buckled her in, she asked if the house was really broken. I said yes. She asked if Grandma's house was big. I said big enough. It was almost sunset when we pulled into my parents' driveway. The porch light was on, the way it always was when I came home for holidays. For a moment, I felt safe. Mom opened the door before I could knock. "Mara, you made it!" Her smile froze when she saw Ruby behind me. "Oh, you brought her." For a heartbeat, I waited for the joke. "It didn't come." Yeah. Kind of hard to leave a 5-year-old home alone." Mom blinked, already flustered. "We just thought it would be you." "The house is packed. Brittany's here with the kids, Shane's using the den, the basement's a game room. There's nowhere to put another child." Ruby, half hiding behind my leg, whispered, "I can sleep on the couch." Mom sighed. "Sweetheart, it's not that simple." "Not for Brittany's kids," I said. "They live here," she shot back. "Right. They live here." Translation, you don't. Brittany appeared, perfect hair, a phone in hand. "Hey, Mara. Crazy quake, huh? Glad you're okay, but we're totally out of beds." Ruby's face went red. Her hand tightened on my coat. Mom folded her arms. "You can stay. We'll make it work for a few nights. But maybe Ruby could stay somewhere else? It's just too much chaos for a little one. For a second I thought I'd misheard." "Without the child?" Mom nodded like she was offering a sensible solution. "Just until things settle." Ruby's voice cracked. "I'll be good, Grandma." Mom smiled at her the way people smile at stray kittens. "It's not about being good, honey. It's just a full house." From the back room came laughter and video game noise. I gave a short laugh. "Right. Wouldn't want to disturb Shane's office." "It's a workspace," he called. "Sure," I said. "Very professional." Ruby started crying then, quietly, like she was sorry for existing. "Mom," I said, "you think I'm leaving her?" "You said we could come." Her polite smile didn't move. "Mara, please don't make this harder." "Harder than what? Telling your granddaughter she doesn't fit?" "Don't be dramatic." That almost made me laugh. I zipped Ruby's coat. "Come on, sweetheart." "Where are we going?" "Somewhere with space." I didn't slam the door, just walked out, their laughter leaking through the walls. The motel was 5 blocks away. Neon sign, $30 a night. Color TV. I checked in, didn't look at the clerk. The room smelled like bleach and defeat. Ruby curled up on one bed and was asleep before her shoes were off. I sat on the other, staring at the ceiling crack that split the room in two. Fitting. That was us now. A clean break. Around 3 a.m., Ruby mumbled, "Are we going home soon?" "Soon," I said. I stayed awake listening to trucks on the highway. Each rumble felt like the ground reminding me who was done shaking. She cried. I didn't. I just said, "Noted." 3 days later, they were regretting everything. I used to think I grew up in an ordinary family. You know, lawn, dog, matching sweaters at Christmas, the whole American commercial. But if you've ever been the extra child in your own house, you know what I mean when I say there's always a favorite, and it's never you. For us, that favorite was Brittany, 2 years older, taller, louder, blonder. The kind of kid who could break a lamp and get praised for her creative energy. I once got grounded for breathing too close to her science project. Mom said we were different types. Dad said Brittany was the achiever. Apparently, I was the other type. I learned to make myself small early. My bedroom was technically a converted laundry room, mine because I didn't need as much space. Brittany's trophies lived in the hallway. Her friends walked through my room to get to the backyard. I started sleeping with headphones just to pretend privacy existed. Here's the thing, if you live long enough as someone's afterthought, it becomes your native language. You start translating everything into "don't cause trouble." So when I turned 17 and got a full scholarship 5 hours away, I packed without a single tear. I remember Mom hugging me at the door and whispering, "We're proud of you." She said it like an apology. College was the first quiet place I'd ever lived. No Brittany, no trophies, no one barging in to ask if I'd seen her mascara. I studied social work. Maybe it was cosmic irony, choosing a career to fix the kinds of families that break you. But it fit. I liked systems, logic, outcomes. I liked helping people who actually wanted help. When graduation came, my parents mailed a card. Love, Mom and Dad. No gift, no visit. Brittany's wedding that same summer cost more than my entire education. I know because Mom accidentally sent me the wrong text, the one meant for Brittany, about floral centerpieces that cost $400 each. I laughed. Then I cried. Then I laughed again. Fast forward 10 years. I was 32, single, overworked, but doing fine. I had a small house, a steady salary, and a healthy skepticism about people who say family is everything. Then I met Ruby. I was assigned to her mother's case, a woman named Trina, mid-20s, 2 DUIs, living week to week. Ruby was 2, all curls and serious eyes. She clung to me the first time we met, arms tight around my neck like a life preserver. Trina rolled her eyes. She likes everybody. That wasn't true. Ruby didn't like everybody. She liked quiet voices. She liked routine. She liked when I brought crayons. For months, I visited twice a week, checked boxes, wrote notes, filled reports. But every time I left, Ruby would stand at the door holding that ridiculous purple sippy cup, watching my car until I turned the corner. Then one week, Trina didn't answer the door, or the next, or ever again. She disappeared, left the state, maybe the country. The caseworkers said, "She'll resurface eventually." Ruby stayed with emergency foster care. I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing that little face pressed to the window. So I did the things social workers aren't supposed to do. I volunteered to foster her temporarily. Paperwork, background checks, endless forms. But within a month, she was sleeping in my guest room. The first night, she woke up crying. I sat on the floor beside her bed until she fell asleep again. When I finally stood, my legs were numb and my heart wasn't. 3 months later, she called me Mama by accident. I didn't correct her. When the adoption became official, the judge smiled. "Congratulations," he said, like he was handing me a prize. But it didn't feel like winning. It felt like balance finally existing in the world. I called my parents that night, expecting, maybe foolishly, a little excitement. Mom said, "Oh, wow. That's unexpected." Dad said, "Are you sure about this?" "Raising someone else's kid alone?" Brittany texted, "That's so sweet," with 3 heart emojis. That was the whole family celebration. Still, I drove down that summer to introduce Ruby properly. I wanted her to have grandparents, cousins, laughter, the normal things. Ruby was 4 then, shy but curious. She brought drawings for everyone. Brittany's kids ignored her. Mom accepted the crayon portrait with a tight smile and said, "That's colorful." Over dinner, Dad asked if Ruby knew she was adopted. I said not yet, she was too young. Mom said, "Maybe tell her early. That way she won't think she's really part of the family." I choked on my water. She didn't even blink. Later that night, I overheard her whispering to Brittany in the kitchen, "It's not the same. You can't just buy love." That sentence lodged in my ribs and never came out. Still, I kept visiting. Holidays, birthdays, guilt trips, the usual. I told myself I was doing it for Ruby. She deserved grandparents who mailed birthday cards and smiled in photos. Once, Ruby asked why Grandma only hugged her when cameras were out. I said Grandma's just shy. I lied again. By the time Ruby turned 5, she'd stopped asking to visit. I should have seen the writing on the wall right then, but I'm a social worker. I believe people can change. I didn't sleep that first night in the motel. The ceiling crack looked like it was still moving, and I kept waiting for another tremor. Not from the earth this time, but from myself. By morning, I'd made one decision. I wasn't begging anyone for space again. Ruby was quiet on the drive. Every time we passed a gas station, she asked if we were almost back home. I didn't have the heart to tell her we didn't have one yet. I called Simone, a colleague, part-time saint, while Ruby napped in the back seat. She listened, horrified, then said, "Mara, pack nothing else. Just come here." "I have a spare room. Olivia will love having another kid around." That was Simone. Empathy in human form. 5 hours later, Ruby and I were at her door. Her house smelled like coffee and normal life. Olivia, her 8-year-old, met us barefoot and smiling. "Hi, want to see my room?" Ruby nodded, and just like that, she disappeared into safety. Simone put a mug in my hand. "Stay as long as you need." I didn't realize until then how long I'd been waiting for someone to say those exact words. For the first time in days, Ruby slept through the night. I didn't. My body was calm, but my brain was sprinting laps. I already knew I owned a third of my parents' house, an inheritance from my grandfather when I was 17. I just never used it, never even thought of it as mine. It was family property, sacred, untouchable, but after being told my child couldn't cross that threshold, something cracked open that had nothing to do with fault lines. I sat at Simone's kitchen table the next morning, flipping through insurance paperwork, when the thought became solid. If I don't have a room there, why am I paying for one? Because I was $200 every month, like clockwork, for upkeep. A small family tax to stay in their good graces. I opened my banking app and stopped the transfer. One tap. Done. It felt like cutting a leash. Then came the next question. What now? I pulled up my laptop, searched real estate lawyer near me, and booked an appointment for the next day. When I told Simone, she didn't try to talk me out of it. She just said, "About time." The lawyer was a woman named Franklin, 50-ish, calm, voice like granite. She looked over the deed and said, "You're listed as tenant in common with your parents and sister. You're free to sell your share or petition for a sale of the entire property," I said, "even if they live there?" "Especially if they live there." I laughed. It came out brittle. "So it's legal to reclaim the floor they stand on." She didn't smile. "Perfectly legal." That was all I needed. I told her to move forward. She drafted the notice that afternoon. By the time I left her office, the world felt sharper, more precise, like I'd finally picked up the right tool after years of fighting with my hands. 3 days later, the letter went out. Certified mail, return receipt, the whole symphony. I didn't warn them. Why spoil the surprise? The phone rang the next evening. Caller ID. "Mom." "Of course." I answered. "Hi, Mom." No hello from her, just, "What have you done?" "I assume you mean legally or emotionally." "Mara, this letter." "You're selling the house?" "Our home?" "Our," I echoed. "Interesting pronoun." In the background, Brittany's voice pierced through. "She's doing this because of that child." "That child has a name," I said. Mom snapped, "You can't do this to your family." "Pretty sure my family already did this to me." Dad's voice came next, shaky attempt at reason. "Sweetheart, think about this. You grew up there." "I also grew up invisible there," I said. "You remember that part?" Brittany grabbed the phone. "You'll make us homeless!" "You'll make yourselves homeless," I said calmly. "I'm just selling my share." There was shouting, overlapping, panicked, self-righteous. I held the phone away like it was on fire. Then I brought it back and said, "You could always buy me out." "Where do you expect us to get that kind of money?" Mom demanded. "Oh, I don't know," I said. "Maybe from the endless space you saved by not housing my daughter." Then I hung up. I expected guilt. Instead, I felt clarity, a clean, electric kind. Simone found me standing by the window, staring out at nothing. "Let me guess," she said. "They called." "They screamed," I said. "So yes, progress." She nodded. "Pie or wine?" "Both." We ate in silence. Ruby and Olivia drew chalk flowers on the driveway, their laughter cutting through the heaviness like sunlight through blinds. I thought the earthquake was the worst thing that could happen. Turns out, that was just the opening act. By April, Ruby slept fine again. I didn't. Every night I stared at Simone's ceiling, waiting for the universe to remember I still owed it something. When the phone finally rang, I almost thanked it. "Your parents responded," Franklin said. Of course they did. Guilt has a slow fuse but perfect aim. "They're claiming they already gave you your inheritance," she went on. "That they spent your share raising you." I laughed so hard I scared the cat. "So my childhood was a loan? Should I Venmo them for diapers?" "It's a delay tactic," she said. "Delay? Sure." But something in her voice said buckle up. The next morning, the gossip started. Not local, 5 hours buys you distance, but social media travels faster than traffic. Brittany's post. Some people would evict their own parents if it made them feel powerful. Mom commented with a heart emoji. Simone slid her phone across the table. "You okay?" "Great," I said. "I've always wanted to trend for parricide." I told myself I didn't care. Then I imagined Ruby reading those posts someday and felt my throat close. The worst part? The likes. Dozens of them. People love a villain they can recognize from Thanksgiving. A week later, Franklin called again. "I found something," she said. "You'll want to sit down." "I'm already lying flat," I said. "Go ahead." "There's a mortgage on the property." A big one. I know they took a loan years ago. You signed it, she said. I what? She sent the file. 3 seconds later, my email dinged. 4 signatures. Mom. Dad. Brittany. Me. Except the me part was a stranger's handwriting trying too hard. Clean, steady, practiced, like love letters forged for cash. I called Franklin back. That's not my signature. I assumed, she said. We'll need to report it. For the next 48 hours, I moved like a ghost. I cooked dinner, helped Ruby with homework, smiled at Simone. Inside, the ground was already cracking again. They hadn't just used me. They'd used me. My name. My trust. My stupid silence. The court hearing was scheduled a week later. Another 5-hour drive. 5 hours to think about what betrayal sounds like in legal language. When we walked in, Mom gave me the look she used to save for stains on the carpet. Brittany crossed her arms like she was posing for martyrdom. Dad stared at the floor. The judge skimmed the advancement claim, sighed, and tossed it out like a bad script. Then Franklin mentioned the mortgage. The room went still. Mom's face drained. Brittany's mouth opened. Dad's knuckles went white. The judge said the word forgery, and something inside me unclenched. That was the moment I knew. Whatever came next, I wasn't the broken one anymore. The investigation moved fast. The bank confirmed it. Signature fake, documents false, everything smelling of desperation. Repayment demanded immediately. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I felt old. Mom called that night. How could you do this to us? Pretty sure I didn't sign your mortgage, I said. You're remembering wrong. I'm remembering breathing while you committed a felony. Brittany's voice broke in, shrill. You'll make us homeless! Welcome to the club, I said, and hung up. Weeks blurred. The lender wanted its money. Their lawyer begged for mercy. Facebook kept bleeding pity posts. Family destroyed by greed. Simone started hiding them from me. You don't need that, she said. I do, I said. It's proof. Proof of what? That even after the truth, they'll still choose the prettier lie. The sale order came next. Court-appointed agent. Fair market listing. The house I grew up in was suddenly a link on a real estate website. The photos looked fake. Sunlight too clean, floors too shiny. No sign of the crack in the hallway wall I used to trace with my finger when I was 10. Franklin called the morning it sold. Funds are cleared. After the mortgage payoff and fees, your parents and sister get almost nothing. Your 1/3 is untouched. I thanked her. My voice didn't sound like mine. That night, Ruby and Olivia were drawing with chalk on the sidewalk. Ruby looked up and said, Mommy, are we done now? Yeah, I said. We're done. But I knew the worst hadn't hit yet. It never ends with the money. An hour later, my phone buzzed. Text from Mom. We lost everything because of you. No apology, no confusion, just accusation. Clean, perfect, familiar. I stared at it until the letters blurred, then deleted it. Simone came out with 2 beers. You look like someone survived a storm. I did, I said. They just don't know they're still in it. Later, when the house was legally theirs no longer, I lay awake thinking about my forged signature, how they'd practiced it, how careful you have to be to copy someone you never truly saw. That's the part that keeps me up, not the crime, the precision. A few months later, I'm home. The repairs are finally done. New walls, new foundation, no cracks, no red tags. Just quiet. Our house feels solid again. And this time, it's really ours. The sale from my parents' house finally closed. It went for $618,000. After the mortgage, Lawyer fees and all the chaos were stripped out, my 1/3 came to $203,000. It was enough to pay off the rest of my own mortgage in full. One bank transfer and I owned this place outright. Every nail, every square inch. No debt, no landlords, no ghosts. Ruby helped me hang the welcome home sign on the door. She made it herself. Letters cut out of colored paper, taped crooked, perfect. She keeps saying this house feels stronger. Maybe she's right. Maybe it's because this time we built the foundation without asking anyone's permission. As for the rest of the family, well, gravity hit them hard. My parents and Brittany didn't see a cent from the sale. Every dollar of their 2/3 went straight to the bank to pay off the forged mortgage. They lost everything. Mom and Dad now rent a small studio on the edge of town. Brittany's boyfriend, Shane, left her the second the checks cleared. She's working 2 jobs, raising her 3 kids alone, still posting quotes about forgiveness that somehow never mention her own crimes. We don't talk. We don't need to. Last I heard, they still blame me, which is fine. They can hate me from their rentals. I've got walls that don't shake anymore. It's strange how quiet life gets once the noise leaves. Ruby still spends weekends with Olivia. They build forts, paint each other's nails, and argue about who gets the last popsicle. She's started Aikido classes too. Balance, not force. I think she understands it better than I ever did. Sometimes, when the ground trembles under passing trucks, I still flinch. But the house holds. Maybe that's the difference now. This house stands because I stopped begging for space and started claiming it. So, what do you think? Did I go too far? Or not far enough? Let me know in the comments and subscribe for more.